Parents from families with terminally ill children tend to hide their psychological pain from their spouses. This was found through a study led by psychologists at Nanyang Technological University.
And instead, parents in Singapore prefer to support one another in pragmatic and solution-oriented ways. And for more, we're joined by lead author of the study, Associate Professor Andy Ho from the Psychology Division at NTU's School of Social Sciences. Thank you very much, Professor, for coming in. First up, I want to know, what prompted you to, conduct the study?
Well, my team and I at NTU, including Ms. Andrea Duda as well as Ms. Geraldine Tan Ho, has been working on end-of-life care research for the longest of time. And our focus mainly has been on older patients as well as caregiver. And through the course of this research, we found that there is a great deal of lacking of knowledge in terms of how do we understand or not understand how young parents of young children, how do they go through such ordeal when the children have been diagnosed with terminal illness. So there is a great deal of importance of us to find out more about what their needs are and to support them better.
So why do you think it is that parents here tend to lean towards this sort of solution-based approach, a more pragmatic approach to this issue? We tend to think of those in the West sort of handling things with, in a different way, perhaps from an emotional sort of standpoint first?
There is a common belief that emotion needs to be expressed immediately, at least in the Western literature. But what we found locally is that Asian parents often need to figure out what to do in the immediacy after the prognosis of the child. There are a lot of things that need to resolve. Who is going to take care of the child? What decision-making are we going to do? What type of care plans do we need to have? And our parents expressed to us that in order for them to deal with to navigate towards this web of decision-making and caregiving, they need to really focus on finding solution, instead of burdening the other spouses of their emotional needs.
So how important is it for parents of terminally ill children to share their emotions and feelings with, one another? Do you think it's got something to do with the culture as well?
I definitely think so. I think there is in Asia, we have very much a collective mindset. We really think on the behalf of our loved ones. And so we don't really want to burden the other with more emotional strain than they already are having. That being said, it doesn't mean that emotion is not important. It's definitely important for us to express and share our emotion, but not perhaps in the immediacy of prognosis. There needs to be a time and space for this. And sometimes in our research, it just goes to show that parents want to have some time to reflect about what they're going through and allow the other partner to experience this too, so that they give each other space to grieve in their own way rather than urging them to express their emotion. What we also found is that after the child has passed on, there was a great deal of comfort in allowing each other to share those emotions after the ordeal is over.
So counseling and therapy, it forms a very big part of actually dealing with a situation as grave as this. I understand that you've developed an online therapy app that is sort of therapist facilitated.
Yes. So based on the findings of the study, and we recognize that parents need the space and need the time to reflect on what they're going through. And through that reflection, they are able to identify the strength that they have and the support network that they have. But it may not be done. It's just almost impossible to ask us parents to go to a sit-and-talk therapy for an hour, because caregiving is a 24-hour job, 365 days a year. They're completely immersed in that experience. And therefore, for us to develop this online platform that they can be in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., they finally have a 10-minute break. They can think and sit and write about their experiences. That can be cathartic. That can be healing. And it leads to a place whereby they can understand themselves more. And despite the fact that this is a very traumatic experience, there could be room for growth and transformation.
So what kind of support do they exactly need? Because you mentioned that 365 days, they're just there looking after their child. So what kind of support do parents of terminally ill children need, and how do you see your findings helping them move forward or helping the situation, be better? I
think there are a range of support services or support or needs that parents have in terms of pragmatic support, having someone to provide them with some respite care so they can take some time off. There could be financial support. There could be emotional support and counseling support. I think right now in our society there are a lot of organizations that do provide these type of support, but they may not be, they may be fragmented. Perhaps the parents need to go to different organizations to get that type of support, and parents often don't have that time. And so, especially in terms of psychosocial spiritual support, there needs time for them to talk to someone. There needs to be a connection. And while we cannot do that in the physical presence of another person, we could do this on an online platform. And I think, I still remember when I first conceptualized the study and I submitted the proposal, there was one reviewer that said, hey, your study only focused on about 300 people a year. That is not scalable. We should not do this. And my response was, well, number is not an issue here. Despite the fact that we only have about 300 children die every year, they still die. And there are a lot of people who suffer from this. And I believe that it's not really about the numbers, it's doing the right thing and providing parents with the needs that with the support that they need. And at the end of the day, hopefully they can overcome and live with this ordeal in a much more positive way.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us, your study that you have done. We've been speaking with Associate Professor Andy Ho from the Psychology Division at NTU School of Social Sciences.